to welcome you and to thank you for coming on this magnificent, wonderful day. But it is something that we're all very interested in, I think. A little learning being a very dangerous thing when it comes to the social media world. So we have now a congregation interim social media policy, guidelines and protocols. And that's because for it to become a policy as such, it will have to be voted upon at the next general chapter in 2020. So it will be very good because we'll have time to see how it goes and if it works and what we need to change a little bit. Liz has put enormous work into it, and I think you'll find it a very interesting presentation as well as very informative. So, as I said, you're all very welcome. I better not stand in front of Dominic. Will we begin with a prayer, which you will find on this booklet. Oh, that's up there. If you haven't got a booklet yet, which you may or may not have, so we begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. And we pray together.
Christ has no online presence but yours. Christ has no online presence but yours. No blog, no Facebook page but yours. Yours are the tweets through which love touches this world. Yours are the posts through which the gospel is shared. Yours are the updates through which hope is revealed. Christ has no online presence but yours. No blog, no Facebook page but yours.
Amen.
Okay, does anybody, maybe people might know, but does anybody know what happened at these two events, where those two events are? Okay, well if you don't then it's okay. It's good, at least I know something more. The first one was the election of Pope Benedict in 2005, and the second one was the election of Pope Francis in 2013. The reason why we show it is because here you see one mobile phone and maybe two or three mobile phones from all the religious and all the people there. But in 2013, you can see all the mobile phones and photographs that have been taken. So within 8 years, our lives had totally changed and how we transmitted information and how instant and quickly it was. I'm here today to try and share with you some information about the importance of social media for us as preachers, as women preachers in 2017. I don't know everything about social media. I'm not an expert in social media, but I have done some reading and I have tried to keep myself up to date, both when I was in school and since I've become a member of the Congregational Council. What I use a lot of times is my social media Bible, which is very good and keeps me on track. And also another book that I find very, very useful, which is where I got the prayer from, which is the Social Media Gospel. And these are different religious and different groups that I belong to that have come together to try and see how we can make social media and use social media to preach the gospel message. So, their aims today then is that why do we need a policy and protocols, the do's of social media, the benefits of social media, what is social media, safety features, and also to point out that email, Facebook and Twitter and text messages and once we have a smartphone or a phone, it's social media. But also not to forget that TV is also social media, because we sometimes think it's only Facebook and it's only Twitter and it's only for younger people. But it actually isn't. We are all using it, and we'll go through and see that. They say that anyone over the age of 20 are digital immigrants today. Anyone under the age of 20 are digital natives. And we need to learn from one another. We need to learn from people under 20, and we need to share our wisdom with them. We need to take it that For us, it's like going into the unknown, going to another country, learning another culture, learning different words, learning how to speak, because it's a whole different language, and it's a whole different way of working. And if we don't learn the language when we go to another country, as any of us who have gone to other countries to live or to work, well, we're lost and we miss out. And we can't be enriched because we can't listen to the people. And the same is with social media. If we as a congregation, if we as individuals don't take on this new modern way, then we're going to lose out. But also a generation or younger people or different people who are involved are going to also miss out because they're not going to have our sharings with them. Electronic communication, or what social media is. Electronic communication is communications of young people's choices. It's what they want us to do, and it's an opportunity for us, as I said, to connect positively with young people. This shows you that children, just to give you an idea, that children between the ages of 4 and 18, and you have it all there, and I did give you it beforehand, so that you would have it, but that children, over 68% of them use social media every single day, and this was done a year ago. So even as the person was given this information to us, they probably said it's out of date, because it's out of date since yesterday. And since we did the social policy, and since I printed out these on Thursday, we got more information on Friday from the National Board, a new paper from the National Board of Child Safeguarding, which actually means that, and this is how quick it is, some of the stuff in this is now old and this is new. But that's how quickly we have to keep in touch. Liz smiled, opened up a brown envelope and smiled and handed me a bit of paper and said, there, that's for you. And it actually means that I discovered new things. So that is how quickly that things change, but we need to be in touch. So some of you here already know what social media is. As I said, I don't claim to know any more than anybody else. But for those who don't know, I hope you learned something today. Social media, this is since Thursday, the National Board has actually decided that social media is defined as electronic communication, software, digital videos, games, and websites. They have also said, which I wouldn't have known this and didn't think of it until Thursday, but then it made sense, that digital audio is also social media. So if you have an MP3 player, if you have an iPod, and if you use electronic books, like an e-book or that, then you are on social media. So it's that anything to do with electronic is social media. We know that there are certain types of social media that we're aware of. They're the blog, texting, again, up until recently I wouldn't have thought an ordinary text message or a telephone call is social media, but they say it is. WhatsApp, which I think a lot of our sisters are beginning to use. FaceTime, Skype, and YouTube. So sometimes when people say to us social media, we think of website, we think of Facebook, we think of Twitter, we think of those programs. We think of programs that we hear that other people use, but actually, whenever we realise that when we're on FaceTime or when we're on WhatsApp or when we're sending a text message, we are using social media. So just to go through some of the more common social media that some people might be using, and it's Twitter. And Twitter is a free social networking. You can see up there, you can see from your books that it says the average age of people who use Twitter, and this is why it's interesting for us. The average age of people who use Twitter are 25 to 34-year-olds, females. So using Twitter is our way of getting into and in touch with young females between the ages of 25 and 34, and that came from Europe in April, a survey that was carried out. The second group is 35 to 44-year-olds, and they do say that Twitter is used by people more who want to think and want to blog and want to ask questions rather than just posting information. The other is Instagram, which I don't know if anybody here is using Instagram, but Instagram is used by 800 million people. There's 40 billion photographs have been uploaded to Instagram, and they say that it's mainly used by 18 and 29-year-olds. And 17% of under 20-year-olds said that they use Instagram. And Instagram is basically, I don't use it myself, it's where you share photographs. I do know that I was at one talk given by a Sacred Heart father on social media and vocations, and he uses it, but he said that if you use it, you have to have it all the time. But it's literally just, we would be here now, and we would be taking photographs, and we'd be making a comment, and it would just be going. It's meant to only stay up for 3 minutes, and then it's meant to disappear. But we all know that the danger of that is it doesn't stay up for 3 minutes because it takes a snapshot of it and it's passed around and it's kept longer than we think it is. Another is Snapchat that you would have heard maybe young people talking about, and you would hear this whenever they're often talking about bullying and cyberbullying. It's a photo message application, so it's for the under 25s. The under 15s and that age group, what they were using yesterday, they're using something else today. So I decided I would not go through the list of what is available there to that age group, because it's just mind-boggling. Because I think I've got, and I know this when I was in school as deputy principal, I would think I know every app that there is possible, and then somebody would arrive in my office and I would be totally out of date because a new app would be there. But this is used by people again. This one you put little ears on your face, so I would take a photograph of sailing and then I would put a moustache or ears or do something, or smiley face, or add things to it to enhance the photograph or to take it away. It's people send drawings, usually people send it, especially, I'm not on it either, but if you're on it, and I've seen it, or especially when people are out socialising, sometimes they send photographs. So that's another type. Sorry, I meant to say, if anybody has any questions or want me to stop, or I'm going too quickly, you can ask and ask any questions as I go along about them. Facebook, and this is the one that I'm going to spend a little bit more time on, because we think, we're not too sure, but as a council we think that this is what people, other than text messages, phone calls, WhatsApp and FaceTime and texting and maybe Skype, this is possibly the other social media platform that we as sisters are on. We do, as a congregation, have 4 Facebook pages. One is a congregation Facebook page that shares information about us as a congregation. The other is a missionary of Latin America, have a vocations Facebook page, and South Africa have a vocations Facebook page, and Ireland have a vocations Facebook page. And they share information that they think is relevant to people who are searching about vocations. The congregation one shares information about ourselves, but also will share, like yesterday we would have shared the letter that the Pope sent to Gusto Gutierrez because of his 90th birthday. So we would be showing that we agree with that, and we want to celebrate that as well. Facebook then is a popular website. They say there are 2.13 billion people using Facebook. They say that in Europe there's 307 million people use Facebook every 5 minutes, and that 50% of 18 to 24-year-olds say that when they wake up in the morning, the first thing they do is check their Facebook page. And I would believe that. Before they wash their face, before they get out of bed, before they wash their teeth, before they do anything, they stretch over and they put on their Facebook. And so maybe you should ask yourself, because I had to ask myself the question, what do I do when I wake up in the morning? So what do you do if you're on Facebook or if you're on social media? What is the first thing you do? So Facebook is popular, it's good. It's a good way to keep in touch with people, it's a good way of sending messages, it's a good way of keeping in touch with friends and colleagues, and anybody who is anybody and anybody who wants to promote themselves today has a Facebook page, because it does work, as well as have a negative. So, Facebook and you, if you have a Facebook page, what you can do with it, you can identify, it can be formative, it's personal, it's for you. It helps you to meet new friends, it can help stay in contact with old friends, it's free and it's worldwide. So therefore, it is good and easy to have. What are the benefits of having a Facebook page and the benefits of social media for us as a congregation? We promote our congregation values, which will reach a much wider audience than any of us will ever manage to do, because we saw that if there's millions of people on it, well, it's a way of getting your message. Because once you post something, it's worldwide. No matter how much you think that it's not. There are ways of trying to keep it safe, but it is worldwide. It strengthens and builds relationships for people. It gives us an opportunity to engage with others outside our circle and outside our church. So it does give us that opportunity without moving from our rooms, without getting out of bed. We can actually be in touch with other people. That's also the negative side of it, because there are some people who literally don't get out of bed and don't get out of a bedroom because they think they're being in touch with people, because they don't actually have to talk to anybody. It mobilises people around issues that are important to them and creates advocates. And we saw that some people would say, whether we agree or disagree with certain referendums that take place around the world and in our own country, that it was won on social media. We know that ISIS manages to do what they do because of social media. They have managed to radicalise lots of young people in different countries through social media. So I suppose the question for us is, if ISIS can do that in a negative way that causes, and not only ISIS, but other groups of people can do that, to bring mayhem, to bring violence to the world and bloodshed to the world, then why can't people like us do the same and use social media to bring peace and joy and hope, instead of being frightened of it and instead of allowing it to be handed over to others. For us as a congregation, it facilitates collaboration with other missionaries and with other groups and with other congregations. It's easier for us to pass on information, to get information out through email, through the website and through social media to one another. It can help, and we can have networks of community, and possibly there is a possibility for online ministry if people were interested enough to take it on and to say, well, okay, I can't actually go out to do ministry, I can't actually go and take part in something, but I could do this. And with some help and with some support and with some skills, it is a possibility that some of us could take on this online ministry, and that because we do have smartphones, we do have iPads, we do have access to internet, that we would be able to do that. I'm not suggesting that we all go out this afternoon and start a ministry online, because I wouldn't have the confidence to do it anyway. It's not that easy, but it is something that is possible for us as a congregation if we wanted to look into that. Katrina, sorry, just about that. Katrina was in Galway yesterday at the Women's Historical Talks, where Sister Alberta was given a paper. But there was also a sister from, where was it? In Closed-Door.
Poor Clare's, was it?
Yeah, the Poor Clare's, and she was given a talk on how they have embraced social ministry as a ministry. How they, as a community, sat down and talked and worked out what they would do, and how they have blogs, so they have discussion with people about spirituality. She said that she found it, that the sister shared that they had to work out how it wouldn't affect their enclosed life and how it wouldn't affect what they're committed to, but that They found the questions very challenging from people from outside. It wasn't only young people, but there were some young people, but that the people who were chatting with them online also found some of their questions very challenging. And Katrina just said it was really very, very good. She thought the talk yesterday was very interesting. So we've talked about that. It's ways to keep updating, I suppose, without writing a letter or without a phone call, but we all know that nothing beats when you get a letter in the post. So we're not saying we do away with all of that type of stuff, we're just saying that to do away, it can be helpful. And we can contact people easily, and I'm sure we all know stories here where some of our sisters, I know that before Sister Giovanni died, with her sister Austin in South Africa, I used to love whenever I could see Giovanni going into the small office down in St Mary's and ringing her sister on Skype and they'd talking. And I think Sister Christine's recent story of her brother who died in Canada, that the day before he died, just a few hours before she had died, she was able to communicate with him, and that she was actually able to be present at the funeral because they were able to set up Skype in St Mary's and the web camera from the funerals. And I think that, to me, is what social media is about, and that's positive, and that's very good, and that's what we should be looking at. How can we ring and help and use it in that way? It allows for self-expression, both positive and negative, but we're going to look at all the positives. Art, music, and political ideas and religious ideas. It would help us, if we took this on as a congregation, to develop a self-identity. To use as tools, to use to be able to talk at their classroom. I must have a Freudian slip there when I say classroom tools, but it's for us to use in our ministry and in our work. So that's the social media that we've just looked at. Then, as I said, in case you all think I've lost it completely and I'm only talking about positivity, we have the negatives of social media, and our policy covers this as well. We know there is fake news. We know that people don't always tell the truth, but that doesn't only happen in social media. So we have to be alert, and we have to educate ourselves to decide what is true and what isn't true. What can I accept and what I can't. But you can put whatever you like up on social media and there's nobody there to watch it. I said earlier on that it's about building relationships, and it is, but it's also, there is no actual personal interaction. There is no empathy. And that is why cyberbullying is such a success, especially among young people and adults, and trolling. Because if I'm sitting at a computer and I want to say something about somebody, it's much easier to type something and say something bad about somebody than it is to say to their face. And that is what has happened. So it has come, and people in education and people in workplaces and every psychologist, and you hear it all the time on the media, are very concerned that it is leading to a group of people around the world, particularly and also in our own country, where there is no empathy. And if you have no empathy, it's very serious. Security details are not secure. And I'm not here, and I don't want to put people off and frighten people, because the point for us of having our policy is that we engage in it and that we use it, but we have to also to be alert that security details are not secure. When you're using social media. And we know cyberbullying, and sometimes we think cyberbullying only takes place with children in school, but cyberbullying takes place with adults as well. And we know that you never get away from cyberbullying. It's you 24/7. And it's something that we need to be very aware of. Trolling, which is more adults, and it's more where people decide to say nasty things about people. One experience that I saw a lot about that recently was, some of you may be aware, of Karen Byrne, who won the Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
With Jake Carter, was from Ballyfermot, a past pupil. And the trolling that went on about that girl is just horrific. People making comments about her voice, about her looks, about where she was from, about how she was loud, how she shouldn't be on RTE. It was dreadful. There was positive comments, because all her teachers and people saying, but it was the first time, because I was following her, and it was the first time that I actually saw horrific trolling, like dreadful, and that is happening with other people, with others, all the times. Then I've decided it is worldwide, and as well we want to get our message. It is that it's very hard to keep it private. It's free speech, there's no control and there's no consequences, it would seem. But the National Board in their new document do have a lot of laws that you can actually use to actually bring somebody or to do something about it. There are laws that you can use, they're just not cyber laws, but other types of ones, and there's a whole list of them, and I've put on the back of your presentation where you can get that document very easily. So risks and dangers of social media, as we said, cyberbullying, geolocation, because without us knowing it, if we haven't got our smartphones or our iPad or our iPod or our MP3 player now set up properly, people know exactly where you are. You mightn't think they do, but they do. And I thought that I was very secure. I thought I knew everything. And I put it on the back of your presentation where how you too can find it, because it's too long for us to go through it. It's a new YouTube, I'd say, 13 issues with that, 13 apps that you should turn off immediately on your iPhone. And I was shocked because I didn't even know the apps were on my iPhone. When I went into settings, when I went into security, and when I went down the bottom, I didn't know that I came downstairs and said, phones, and I turned them off, and I turned my own off. One example of that is that I've shared it at home. My niece is getting married in August, and herself and her sister were sitting talking about weddings. They didn't have their phones switched on, they weren't talking and using their phones at the same time, but they were talking about wedding dresses and different things, and within 5 to 10 minutes they were getting messages about where they could buy wedding dresses. They didn't search for a wedding dress, but it picked up from talking. They told me about it, I didn't believe them. I said, we were on the phone when they were talking, and they did a test with me. We were sitting and we put our phones over, and we were sitting and we started talking about hotels, where she's getting married up in Dundalk. We started talking about hotels in Dundalk, and within 7 minutes I was getting adverts popping up telling me that where I could stay during August in Dundalk, in County Louth. And I didn't ask the phone to tell me that. So it's because if you have Siri on, or if you have a certain location, certain things on these settings, these new apps, when you update your phone, which you have to do for security reasons, it also adds certain new devices. It adds new settings that you're not aware of until you go into your settings and go right down it. We know that people put inappropriate content, and it's very clear in our policy sisters that no sister would or should or could ever put in inappropriate content on Facebook. And that means that we don't actually, if something is happening that we don't agree with, we don't publicly condemn somebody or something. You know, we need to be careful on what we do, as well as we never put photographs of children up unless you have written permission from their parents on file. And that's written. You shouldn't put, and it's in the document, you shouldn't put photographs of anybody up without their permission, but definitely that. I'm sure some of you heard and saw on RTE on the 31st to the 50th team on RTE Primetime, they talked about sextortion and sex texting and online perpetrators, but it's a very good program. It lasts, the prime time is the whole program, but for the first 15 minutes, and I checked it yesterday, it is in a little segment. If you go into RTE prime time, you can actually watch the part just about that, just to let you know how people are fooled and are taken on by these. I suppose we can always say that's other people, that's not us, but I suppose we have to be careful that we too can, if we get carried away, say we want to befriend all these people outside, that we too could start being groomed or being known, or people telling things about our community or sharing things that people don't need to know. Like, for example, we didn't say on our Facebook page today, we're all going to Canberra for a social media workshop. Because if we did, well, then anybody with any little bit of intelligence knows that 5 Westfield Road is empty because we're all in Canberra. And that's lots of families, and you know that homes have been broken into because people have said that. Also, if you put up where you are and what you're doing and who you're doing it with, it people build up and notice about you. It's completely unregulated, you know that, and it can be very difficult for people. I want to just show you now a little video, so that you're not listening to me talking, about we all leave a digital footprint. And I heard this morning on playback that even if we're not on Facebook, and I just didn't have time, because I was sorry I didn't have time to put it up here, but he said even if we're not on Facebook, and even if we don't have a mobile phone, that we are leaving a digital footprint because other people are sharing information about us. So there is information that he sent to, it's the guy who took Facebook to court and asked them for all his information, and he discovered that they had information he never knew they had about him, but not only that, they had information that he had thought he had deleted, like special text messages, private messages on Facebook about a friend of his who was mentally ill, and he had thought he had deleted all the messages, but when he actually got the court case and got all his information from Facebook, he discovered nothing was deleted. And that's something that we look at too. But this is just to show you, it's an American, but it's actually very good. It tells you how all of us are leaving this data. So what will follow us around the world? What people, so if each individual person is leaving a data, then we as a congregation also have a digital footprint. And every one of us are a toe or a finger of that digital footprint of the congregation. Because every time we do something, we do it as members of the congregation. So that's why we also need to be careful when we're using social media. I think this should move on up. There we go. Yeah.
Illinois.
Welcome to the digital age. In today's connected world, we're living much of our lives online. As a result, companies everywhere are creating large storehouses of data on all of us. The most obvious information being collected is social media data. Everything you post publicly, and in some cases, privately, is being stored and analyzed. But it's not just social media. There is now a digital record of everything you buy, everything you watch, where you go and what happens at your house. Even your physical characteristics are tracked and stored. All of this data is being used to create profiles of us. Using unique algorithms, they are able to cater marketing strategies directly to you. Some groups are even profiling your personality to specially adapt their interaction with you. The aggregation and storage of this data is becoming one of the most profitable enterprises on the planet. Everything you post, tweet about, like, and more is being collected. Even the location from where you post can be gathered and can be tracked in real time, putting you at risk. Even after social media accounts are deleted, personal information can still be collected through a variety of means. After all is said and done, it's important to know what is being done with your data and to make informed decisions on what you post. You don't have to stop tweeting. You don't have to abandon social media. Just ask yourself these questions before you post. Am I okay with this existing forever? Am I okay with this being read by anyone? Am I okay with this being used to profile who I am? If so, post away. Enjoy social media responsibly. For more information, please visit go.illinois.
The information, I just wanted to show that, as that was all what we were saying about having our digital footprint. So when we're using social media as Dominicans, that we should, and I'm sure you're all responsible and know this, that we only communicate with people we know and we trust. Now you can say, well, if you're asking us to get in touch with all these under 18 to 25, 35-year-old women, and now you're telling us we only communicate with people we know. But it's just that, it's like everything, you have to decide. I mean, somebody might ask to friend you, and you have to decide after a while. You could friend that person if you're on social media, on Facebook, and then unfriend them as quickly as you friend them, if you don't want, if you think, no, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Because sometimes we get telephone calls in Westfield about people interested in religious life, or we get emails through the website, and we have to think, well, is this real, or is this, what is it? So you just have to use, which all of you do, intelligence, so that we will know. But I suppose you wouldn't tell them very private, important things about the congregation without knowing who they are. And as they said, don't write anything that you wouldn't write in public. What we used to say to the students in school, if you're not willing to put it up on a banner across the Assumption Church in Ballyfermot at the roundabout, then you shouldn't say it. Because that's basically, so anything that you wouldn't say, you wouldn't like somebody to see, it shouldn't be done. In the policy also, we suggest and we ask and we encourage very strongly that you talk about social media as a community. Agree what you want shared as a community. One of the things that when one of the webinars from Rome that I was tuned into, they said one of the issues about religious life today and the church is that we only use social media to tell people about things. Like we tell them about our new leaders, or we tell them we had a party, or we show them with a drink or a food, and we show them when we're praying. But that we needed to actually have discussions on it. We need to put some reflections on it. We need to go more than just that. That we need to use it for actual preaching and getting the gospel message across. But it is very important that if I'm in a community and I don't want my photograph on social media, my photograph should not be on social media. I mean, if I'm here and I say to you, okay, today we're taking some photographs, is that okay? And somebody comes up to me and says, I don't want my photograph taken. It doesn't mean that they're dreadful and they're awful and they should be laughed at. They don't want their photograph taken, and that's it. You don't take a photograph. And you work out a way that you can do it, that you don't take a photograph of that person, and you have to be able to do that, because everybody is entitled to their own privacy. And you should not, that should not be invaded. If you want to put a photograph up, I can't even say that's okay, because it's not. Because once you put in your profile that you're a member of the Dominican congregation of Our Lady of the Rosary in St. Catherine of Siena, Kertara, then you, whether you want to or not, are speaking on behalf of the congregation. That's how people perceive it. So if I put something up about my political thoughts or my political beliefs, for example, in Northern Ireland, which people may not or may agree with, because people know me as a Dominican sister, that can be interpreted as the Dominican said that. And that's really, before we do anything, we have to stop and think, does that fit into the X of the chapter? Is that in line, first and foremost, with gospel values? Is it in line with the gospel? Is it in line with the X of our chapter? And is it in line with our constitutions? Or am I going off on a solo runner? Is this my personal belief? Will I upset any member of the congregation by having this now? I know that sometimes we have to do things, we upset people for not the wrong reasons, for the right reasons. But every time I tweet, even on my personal tweet, and every time I put a mark or a like on, or a dislike on Facebook, I'm doing it as a member of the congregation, and you have to be very careful about that. I had hoped, or we had hoped, that maybe we could do some interactive things, but there is no Wi-Fi here in the resource centre, so I couldn't tell you all to bring your smartphones and your iPads and we could all do this. So it would be too long for me to start doing it as an individually up there. But what I would say is that if people came back and said, actually we would like an interactive way of knowing how to do these safety settings, then we could look at going to a school or going to a house where there was internet, and people could bring their things in, and I'd be willing, I'm sure others who are aware of this in the congregation would be willing to do that with people. But I understand and realise that it's me talking, and social media is meant about interactive, but you can only interact if you have internet. And that's one of we discovered that when we were in Argentina, and we wanted to desperately get the celebrations out to you. as quickly as we got them out from South Africa, because Geraldine and Liz would be sending us information from South Africa, but we were in Westwood and we had internet access. We didn't have good internet access where we were in Argentina, so we couldn't send it out. So it does have its downsides. So you can write anything on your wall. Remember that a screenshot can always be taken, and remember that you need to be careful that when you do put information up, that it is correct. And remember that when you put it up, unless you have your setting to friends only, then everybody else can see it. And what happens is, and this is what sometimes caused until I realised it, didn't cause me problems because I don't put anything up on Facebook. My nieces and nephews say that I'm just a lurker on Facebook. I watch what they're doing. I don't actually tell them what I'm doing. And they can't write anything on my wall and they get really upset. But friends, if you have your setting set to friends, then for that moment, it's only the people who are on, who you've chosen to let it see. If you do friends of friends, which I have to say, when I started Facebook about 15 years ago, I did do, because I thought, well, sure, I don't mind if my friends, until I realised, well, that means that it's myself and Liz, so I do friends only, and Liz and myself are only friends, so Liz will only see what I put up. But if I do friends of friends, and I do Liz is my friend, then the people on Liz's Facebook can see my post. But more importantly, if Liz has friends of friends, then the people who are on her friends can see it. So before you know it, loads of people can see it. And you thought, well, I was just doing this to the people who I know. So it should always be, and it's recommended for us, that you have it as friends, if it's your personal Facebook, and not friends of friends. And most certainly, my advice is never public. The congregation Facebook is public, and the vocations are public because that's information we want everybody to see. So remember, within minutes it can be moved. On the handout you have how you can do this, and I think, as I said, it would take too long for us to do it now, but it does give you step by step, and at the end of your presentation they will actually tell you how you can find that on YouTube, and you can follow it step by step on how to do it. But when you go in, it's everyone or public. They've changed it to public recently, so some says it's everyone, but yesterday it was public. Friends of friends and friends only, and we would recommend strongly. And the same is with photographs. If you're putting up a photograph album, you have to also make sure that you know who has been able to see that, and that it's secure. Now, on our website page, for example, you can't actually go in and click on a photograph and take it down because it's secure now, and you can't do that. You can go into Facebook and click and download any photograph, but remember that this whole new thing of taking a snapshot of something means that everything that's up there, somebody can get it somewhere. If somebody wants your photograph, they'll get your photograph. But you can be a little bit more secure. Just be careful what you put up in your profile. Like telling somebody, my name is Liz Smith, I live in 5 Westfield Road, I do this, I do that, I drive, I own the XI20, it's a bit dangerous. I go to the gym every morning. We know what happens if people who go to the gym every morning, or I go running every morning. Well, if you tell people that's what you do, they know that's what you do. You're leaving yourself open to a complete another stranger, because you wouldn't just walk down the road and say to somebody at the bus stop that type of information. But you don't need to, because it's on your profile. And I did a workshop with the national board, and Miriam was there as well, and they showed us how a child's profile can be gathered, and Noel was there as well, how a child's profile can be gathered within a minute because of the photographs and the things that parents are putting on about a child, so that people who want to abuse children don't have to go looking, they just have to go on Facebook. And they just have to find out. They go to St. Catherine's in Cabra, they get out at 2:30, they have blue eyes, they have brown hair, their mammy is called Mary Jean, their father is called Sammy, and not only that, but they take that when that child is in junior infants, and usually if you look at Facebook, some people do it right up, they're following, And then that child comes to 10-year-old or 11-year-old, they go over to Dominican Convent Hebra, and that's also on it. And so that person, who was quite ill or something, has followed that child. So that child is now allowed to walk home on their own because they're now of an age where should they just live in Rattle Road. So let them walk down. They're walking out the school gate, somebody goes up and says, you know, Mary Jane, you know, your mummy Sarah or your father Sammy asked me to take you, and starts telling them things about themselves that they go, well, he knows everything about my mummy and daddy, so it's okay to get into the car because my mummy must have sent him because he knows. You know, I work with your daddy works, and that's all been found from Facebook. And that's why when we're talking to people, we're talking to our families, we're not talking about preaching to them and telling them that they shouldn't do it, but we can prevent this by happening by just talking. But we can only talk if we're aware of it ourselves. And we don't have to, that's what your Facebook page will look like if you go on it, and as I said, we can do that. This came from the Irish Times in 2010, and it's even more, and it's just, I just put it up, that also when we're dealing with our families or ourselves, we can think, because if it's the same for an individual, then it's the same for us as a congregation when each one of you put something up, that it does affect future. People do look and see about people, and that they were saying way back in 2010 that they're very worried about the consequences of young people and adults who will lose jobs or not get jobs because of what they're putting in the profile. And now it's slightly different what we saw during the week of the Young Guard, who took part in an adult film many years ago, did something, changed his life, moved on, went to be a guard, was a trainee guard, came up, and now he's lost, he can't. So it's something that he did, but it was on social media. So therefore, so we have to be careful that we might say or do something, and think to yourself, how much have you changed your opinion about something? So would you want it to be there? When that's there, how you can stay safe on Facebook, you'll be able to get into that, and it's on your, there are lots of safety ways of controlling and looking after Facebook. I really encourage you to look at it and to be safe. The do's of social media, we're coming to the end now. Really, the do's of social media is provide value. If you're on social media, what you're putting on, ask, will that help somebody? Will that be good? Is that positive for the congregation? Be genuine. I mean, we don't spoof and tell lies, because Veritas is our motto, so whether we're online or offline, we should be trying to seek the truth. Strategize, think, what am I doing, why am I putting it on, especially if you're going to get into it in a more formal way. Listen, and you say, how can you listen on social media if they're not talking to me? But again, I shared a story of a young, told from the Samaritans that they have a texting service as well as a telephone. And a young person was texting one of the helpers and was telling them that they were suicidal. And the lady on the other end of the phone, or the other end of the texts back to the young person and said, would you like to talk to someone? And the young person texts back, but I am talking to someone. And you see, we find that very hard to believe that there are actual people who they talk better online. But they need to have somebody to listen to them online. And could one of us be there to do that? And be creative when we are cooking, put nice things up, put good things up, and fill the black hole that is getting there in social media. Because if we don't fill it, it's just with positivity and hope and gospel values, then it is just going to be filled more and more with negativity. Sorry, I was meant to change into blank. We're nearly come to the end. I suppose we had this little thing about a quiz, and I don't know if anybody could remember, name a benefit of social media that we just talked about, or you can talk with one another. Can you see that in red, or is that the one that is meant to change?
We have it here.
Yeah, you have it there. So maybe what you should do, just before we finish up, that if you should just take a little chat with the person beside you and try and come up with the answers, and we'll just see whether you were listening or not. And then we just have one more short message from somebody important. And then that's it. But this, just before we go on to this and the questions and answers, just that on the presentation, there is a list of references and materials that you can use. Also in your envelopes there is the congregation policy, and there is a list from Archbishop Martin on how you should be, the commandments of social media, and it's actually very good, where he tells us to be happy, to be joyful, to be proud, and to go forward. And then also I give you a list just of Facebook lingo, as they say, that I thought people might find useful. But before that, I think Dominique had a question, and then we'll try and see if we know the question.
Have you any comment to make on LinkedIn? Or LinkedIn, I mean, LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn is social media, and it should have been one of the ones that was put up there. LinkedIn is used basically mostly by professionals, and it's used for people who are looking for jobs or looking to find out. It's something that you're often invited to join, or your friends. It's good if you want to share your credentials in a professional way. I know that I went on LinkedIn at one stage because somebody said it was good to be. I kept getting all these invites for these jobs and telling me that there were jobs down the road for me, and I went off.
Yes, I've got very annoyed with it as well, because people are contacting you and you have a good notion who they are, where they came from.
I don't think it's as popular now, Sister, as Dominic, as it used to be. It definitely is used by people in the professional world. 100%. I mean, I know, like, I have nephews and they swear by it, but that's because they're looking for jobs, you know, really, and it does work in that way. I just find it a bit daft that you were to tell them every couple of weeks, every course you're there, like saying what you are. And somebody did contact me once, telling me that my CV was very good. And somebody commented, you know, because I didn't, again, I thought it was just within the group, so I don't use it now. But it's there, and you get invitations to join it continually, and invitations from other people who are on it to join it. So it's up to yourself if you want to join it.
Again, isn't that not good? I've had an experience that somebody suggested that they contact me that I would, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's...
Well, you see, that is the whole thing, and that'll be Sister Mara Gallagher will be giving you a workshop someday soon about GDPR and data protection and sharing information, and that is that. The law of Europe now is that you have the right to your privacy, so really people shouldn't be, so you actually can now say, you know, no, that's for another day.
And I think that it has, the GDPR is going to have consequences for the whole of social media as well.
Yeah.
For example, there's stuff being put up, photographs being put up on it's for organisations and it's for personal data, and like photos and information and whatever. And it's like there are photos being put up on our websites that shouldn't be up there. And if it's a personal Facebook, that's one thing, but and as a person you really should have kind of permission as well. But if it's been put up in the name of the congregation, you must have permission to put up photos.
But you have to have permission. For anybody under the age of 18, you have to have written permission.
Yeah,
Well, we would say, and what our policy now says, is that if I'm putting a photograph of any sister or anything to do with the congregation, I have to get permission about it. That's just
you have to know why it's been put up.
I have to know why it's been put up. You cannot put up a photograph of somebody. I cannot stand up here as the social media person for the congregation and take photographs. I just can't do it. You know, I mean, we're videoing today because we hope to pass this on to South African and Latin America and our other mission areas, because they want the workshop information as well. But we have the camera set in such a way that it's only that screen and me when I'm jumping past it. Do you know, nobody else is on it. And when we have done anything as a congregation for internal usage, we've asked permission. And then sometimes we have gone back to the person, like Sister Helen Neary, when she preached the Advent service, we went back and said, is it okay if we put this up, you know, more public? And we have taken certain things that people have agreed to and said, yes, that's okay. But no, you cannot, you're right, Bernard, you cannot put anything up without permission.
And I think the other thing is that when we're putting stuff up, and this is not as much about, well, it has something to do with it, that we need to be very careful about how we put it up. I mean, I've seen terrible grammatical errors which drive me absolutely off my head, and that we need to be careful about the language we use, how we put it up. Also, that I've seen a number I've seen a tendency to piosity on it, and that's not our ethos at all as Dominicans. That, you know, kind of comments that wouldn't have a theological foundation.
Well, that's why we said that if somebody is taking it up in Dickens ministry, there is need for training and for skills and things like that. And I think what we have to do is, and this is very important, what I would ask, and with reading and what the council are saying, look, it's there, it's something we can use, it's something we need to develop. We're all learning, and we can help one another to learn, and we can support one another. And this can be a positive or a negative experience for the congregation. And this is only one day of the beginning of yet again something else. But we've always, as a congregation, looked for the thing that needed to be done, and we've always tried to meet that need in a way that is true to our own values as Dominicans and as a congregation. And this is what it is. And our Chapter X call us to go to the margins. Social media is one of the margins, but we need to go prepared, and we need to realise that it's a big thing. So we do, and it is, and we take that on board. I won't go through the questions because I said if you were all asleep and I didn't know the answers. No, unless you all know the answers, go on, Liz, tell us. Okay, tell me the answers. Benefit of social media.
Dorina will tell you what the benefit of social media is. I've always looked on her as a guru with these things.
I mean, when I was left, I said, we need a workshop about Facebook, how even to get on it and how to use it. I haven't a clue. I know about it. I've never used it. I just, delete them as they come in.
Yeah, and someone else just said, like, we probably do need a practical, interactive workshop, and we can't look at that. It's just, we can only use what we have, and this was just really the taster for it. And just remember that when you like something, because definitely, say, for example, with cyberbullying, we always say there are 3 types of cyberbullying. There is the cyberbully who puts it up, and then there is the cyberbully who likes the comment but thinks they have nothing to do with it, and then there is the person who just stands by and says nothing. So if you like something on Facebook, and sometimes you have to be really careful what you hit a little finger, to say you like it, because that shows up that you liked it. So you are right. There needs to be a more interactive way, and we can look at that. But a benefit of it? Communication. Okay. Technology. Very good, Mary. You can come to the top of the class. List one of the do's of social media.
Listen, be positive.
Be positive, listen. And then, is there a one-size-fits-all approach to social media campaigns? No. Because it wouldn't be Dominican, we wouldn't even be looking at it if it was as Dominicans if we thought it could be. Now, I could pretend that this person did this exactly for us and sent us this message on Tuesday, but I didn't ask him. So I was going to pretend that I did ring up and that I did ask him to send this message to us. Sorry, I need to just go through this because that's all on your thing. But I find this really interesting that this popped up on the 6th of June. And as I said, I was going to pretend and say, actually I rang the Pope and he sent you all a message. But I decided I better not. It wouldn't be truthful.
It would be fake news.
It would be fake news. Oh, very nice. Oh, I can get it after all. Yeah.
Internet es un don de Dios. También es una gran responsabilidad. La comunicación, sus lugares, sus instrumentos han traído consigo un alargamiento de los horizontes, un ensanche para tantas personas. Aprovechemos las posibilidades de encuentro y de solidaridad que ofrecen las redes sociales y que la red digital no sea un lugar de alienación, sea un lugar concreto, un lugar rico de humanidad, pidamos juntos para que las redes sociales no anulen la personalidad de cada persona, sino que favorezcan la solidaridad y el respeto del otro en sus diferencias.
And we started at 4 minutes past 2 and we're finishing at 4 minutes past
You
2.
might have one or two people
Questions?
that would like to ask a question or two.
Okay, that's fine.
I just asked one of this. You said, well, back that you said you only talked about friendly people and then you didn't want friends.
Yes.
Now, if you said that nothing is ever erased, how can you unfriend a person?
Well, what you do is you go in and you unfriend them, but the fact that it's there, if somebody wants to find it, they get it, but you won't get their following information, and they don't know you unfriend them. Do you know what I mean? So you
Only
can.
if you take a court case.
No.
But you can also go a step further and you can block them so that they can
Yeah.
see nothing
Yeah,
you post.
Yeah.
If someone is
Yeah,
being
you
very
can block
intrusive,
people.
you can
Yeah,
block
you
them
can.
entirely.
But it's still not gone.
It's not gone. The important thing is nothing is gone. Nothing is gone of social media. You cannot delete anything from social media.
And that's how the
And you
guards-
cannot delete text messages. You can delete them and you can see. And when you do the workshops, they say, and when you go into Facebook security and when you go into all that, it says that you it tells you you can. And you can for that moment, but it's if somebody really wants to get it. But I know for a fact if somebody puts up something and I take the photograph down or I take the post down. Like there was something that was posted in 2013 by somebody. And a snapshot of that was taken and it's been used recently. So when we say nothing will be taken down, but if we go down that road, then we become to fear. I mean, we become paralysed. And we say, well, no, we're not going there. But if we don't go there, somebody else is going to go there. So you just have to be careful. So if there is nothing on your Facebook page or nothing on your Twitter or on your messages that you're embarrassed about, my grammar, spelling's grammar, I hold up my hands, but I can only do what I can only do. So, of course, it has to be perfect. But the other thing is, social media language isn't perfect. And so sometimes what we write and we are correcting, take up an English paper there yesterday or the day they did the Leave Insert, when I was going to Brazil in 2000, I got cards from students in school and I wouldn't have been into social media at all. I wouldn't have been into text messages and I wouldn't have known. And I often went back to the card and what it is I really don't understand the language because it's saying like you, as a you, like G8, great. I'm going, and that was written. And so English teachers and people will say today, it's a new language. Now we automatically say it's wrong, but it's a new language. Of course it's wrong to us because of the way we have been. So it's a whole new way of doing things.
Can I delete an email message totally from my computer?
No.
That's interesting because in my job I had to make a GDPR policy out recently and submit it to the people who run the centres where I work. And one of them very kindly sent a copy that I could, just make changes to and use as mine, which I was very happy to do. It's sort of a template. And one of the statements is, I undertake to delete from my email account any email messages regarding our work sent either from the website of the place where I work or from a client within 1 month. And I was thinking,
Well, what happens is...
what use is that?
Yeah, well, because what happens is it's deleted. So if I went into your computer,
I couldn't see
I
it.
wouldn't be able to see it. If you got into my computer, I get emails and I delete emails. You couldn't get it. But if somebody else who is a techie person, really, I don't think anybody in the congregation is that techie.
Yeah.
It's forensic technology.
It's a whole different...
It's forensic technology.
Yeah.
The guards use it.
Yeah, the guards use it. So when we say nothing is ever gone, it's not that you can't see it. If I take a photograph down, most normal people, ordinary people can't see it. But it's if you're into that. And we've seen how it's been used in court cases, but it's what is to remember is that it is there. So but no, what you should do is, and it depends, like for example, certain things you have to have password protected. So there are certain, I have certain emails. The email address that is on the website, for example, for child safeguarding under child safeguarding. That's not only password protected as normal, it is also PIN protected. So it would be very hard to get into that, but the guards could get into it. Forensic people could get into it, but an ordinary person couldn't get into it. So it's that type of thing they're talking about.
Thanks very much.
Sorry, Helen.
And now that we have a social media policy,
Yeah.
does that mean also then for our other ministries, like say for example on Taoiseach or Lumen, that we need to have a social media policy?
Well, Antarctica needs to have their own social media policy because they're a limited company, and the Lumen at the minute is still going under all of our policies at the minute. But,
So we need to have
but you
one.
need to have, well, there's no law saying you have to have a social media policy, but it's good practice to have a social media policy. Yeah. They haven't got the law in yet, but they recommend in the GDPR that you have a policy. If you look into our GDPR, you will see on our website there's a big long GDPR policy, and then there's a privacy policy, and then there's a website usage, and there's a cookies policy, and that's really, it's just to protect yourself. So so it's just good to have.
So we could use yours as a template?
I'm sure you could.
Right.
I'm sure the congregation would say it's okay. We'd be honoured. Is there anything else? I'm aware it's very warm and it's 3:10 and it's so time for tea or coffee.
Well, if we're coming to an end, on behalf of everybody, I would like to say a big thank you for the amount of preparation you put into this seminar. It's really been helpful for us, and the fact that we're all here together and helping us to understand more about it and to use it for its benefits in our congregation. So thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I'll be there with the phone in my hand for yet another lesson. I don't seem to be able to get it in how I do it.